What's up, guys? Yeah, man, the same place I got to skate monsters, there was a bunch of Fangorias that someone had unloaded from the best time period. I'd say like the early mid '90s to the late '90s. I think was the best period for Fangoria, which in the '80s it was amazing as well. But you started to see like in the '90s the culmination of a lot of things. You could say, before the great downfall of the arts. But once again, I'll always bring up in terms of a magazine. If I look at a magazine, I'm always gonna be my main thing is always gonna be what are the layouts? How is it laid out? And you can see here the way it's laid out. You have they always were good at like getting a lot of stuff in a small area. I'd say the imposter one that exists today doesn't even come close in terms of layouts. I think it was 4.95 back in the day. So anyway, going through. This is a quick. I'm gonna go through. Remember the controversial when they made a film version of Interview with the Vampire by the great Neil Jordan. When it was announced, right, that Tom Cruise was being cast as Lestat. Anne Rice actually did like a campaign against this. Like she was very upset by it, and it was sort of it was kind of like it wasn't I don't know it didn't seem very mature on this woman's part, but and of course with the thing with Neil Jordan, there was so many interesting films. I wonder what he's doing now. His stipulation was I'll direct it, but he wanted to pen the script. Okay, that's why there's a lot of things in the film. There's obviously many scenes in the film from the book, but there's a few scenes he added in, like the one with the doll maker, right? When Claudia walks into the effeminate doll maker shop and he's like, "They're expensive, little girl. Maybe too expensive for one as you," right? And then she looks at him with a smile on her face, and then you see her fangs as she comes towards him, and you see the look of horror on his face. And the next scene is her walking out with the doll. I remember me and my late fiance, that was like we really we loved that scene. So it was a good movie, but it just says addresses what happened, and then inadvertently it sort of it gave it publicity. And it's done more for the movie than she realizes by constantly carping about Tom. In the end, Tom Cruise, an actor I don't particularly like. I don't think he's that great. Actually did a really good job with this. He played Lestat really well. So that is my opinion. Um, and I like also he points out, right, the Stan Winston did the effects. There was some early CGI mixed in. The effects in the film are very subtle, right? And it was actually like interesting early CGI. I'm pretty sure there was some CGI involved in that, and it was done pretty well. So anyway, great film. So like another planet now. Oh, Fantico. Anyway, yeah, mail order is the order of the day. Remember the Terra teletype. This is before the internet really gets big. I mean, it's kind of starting around this time. This is how you knew about new stuff coming out, and a lot of these were stuff that was in proposals. Some of this stuff never came out. Some of this stuff never happened. But this was like the inside, the Hollywood insider type information. It's funny too. I'm not gonna go over the whole thing. Just you see how the layouts, everything was laid out like really well. Kenneth Branagh, Mary Shelley's Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein. I thought this was a great film too. It's very much in the vein of like the Interview with the Vampire, right? That was interesting. I thought it was a great film. De Niro did a great job. He did. So, of course, the Victorian hero. This is way before the Victorian era, and it's not in England. Obviously, it's in Switzerland. And of course, and let's be honest, what was the film that gave the green light to Interview with the Vampire as a film, and Frankenstein by Kenneth Branagh as a film? Right, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. Well, I saw this. I think I saw this like 3 times in the movie theater. That's when back in the day you would go to the movie theater, like and see movies more than. I think the only movie I saw more than that was Wayne's World. So I know you're laughing. This was a forgotten film. I remember before it came out, when they were describing it, it seemed very interesting. Essentially, an Italian film based on the Italian comics, the horror comics. Dylan Dog, although this was I think a proto character version of that character, but this film, Michael Soivi, right? You see him as an actor in some of the Fulci and Argento films, but then he became a director. He did like The Church. He did that movie Stage Fright. Remember with the guy, the killer dressed as like an owl with an owl mask, and he did this film. And this film is, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a dream, the dreamlike atmosphere in this film is I mean, I recommend this film. So, and this guy Rupert Everett, I just said probably the only film I think I ever saw him in. He was decent. I can't speak for anything else he's done, but just this film was really, really beautiful. Shot in Italy in the cemeteries. I remember this dude. Remember Nagi? This guy was awesome. So apparently he was a French, I think, musician, Francois Haji Lazaro. So very French. At least his first name is French. But this guy was funny. So I don't want to give away the end, but it's like, can we go home now? Remember, does anyone know that? Did anyone see this film? Anyone see this film? I mean, like, this was the huge thing back then too. Like you had like these masks making companies. Like a guy in his garage or a couple of buddies in the garage, they would make like these studios. Because the latex and the airbrushing and all this stuff was really, practical effects was really coming to the fore, where like regular people were learning how to do it. The materials were becoming easy. So, the old video, Lurking. I remember Lurking Fear, obviously. Full Moon. They did a bunch of Lovecraft adaptations, but they always would change somehow a little bit. This is not a horror film. Scanner Cop. This was a good movie. Now, ostensibly, it was part of like this. Remember Scanners, right? The Cronenberg film. This is supposed to be like from like part of that series. But yeah, Scanner Cop was good. This was a good movie, man. Watch this film. It's more like a superhero kind of film, right? But there's some really, really awesome scenes in that. I just remember, like, I haven't seen this movie like I think since the 90s. With Ed Wood. Now, it's like, another guy, Johnny Depp, is another, is an example of what I bring up, where I can acknowledge someone is talented, but I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all, okay? Not, from 21 Jump Street till all this other stuff, not a fan. So, and this film, remember, this is the film where Martin Landau, I think he won an Oscar. Okay? It was a funny film. Once again, I don't think it was very realistic. I don't think Bela Lugosi ever called a Boris Karloff a limey cocksucker, right? So yeah, it's one of those things where Tim Burton stuff never really appealed to me, and he still made some good films, in my opinion, but they haven't aged well. So I'm probably the only person that has an opinion, but whatever. And here's more like these little. Look at me. Some of this stuff's really cool, man. So I mean, you can imagine how much these go for. So, and these are still a thing, but like I'm sure they're not around anymore. But this was that time, man. I remember New Nightmare. New Nightmare was like a meta film. It was kind of like, obviously Wes Craven had made a sort of meta film, right? Earlier, Scream, and this actually I don't. No, this was before Scream. Scream didn't come out I think till like 96 or 97. So this is before that. This is kind of a meta film where Wes Craven actually stars in it. A lot of people really put this film up. I'd have to watch it again. I don't remember. I would still rather watch like the original, the first three in particular. Or should I say the first one, the third one, the second one. The second one is fun if you want to see a train wreck of a film. But like, this one and Dream Warriors, you're never going to top Dream Warriors, man. So this soundtrack. Okay, Arkham Reporter, bro. Look at the horror video games you had back then. It's too primitive. You wouldn't have known. So retro gaming. So here, Nightmare Lyra, nothing in here I think was even. I don't even think I remember any of this stuff. Anyway, you see how it is. Of course, they got the Shawshank Redemption. Remember this dude, Clancy Brown? He does the voice of Mr. Crab. But this dude, remember the Kurgan? Oh, what was the? Oh man, why am I drawing a blank? The film where he's the Buckaroo Banzai. Remember, he was his buddy. Anyway, at the time too, the Hong Kong cinema, right? Ching Su Tung. Right? This was like Chinese ghost story. Right? The Heroic Trio. Remember, one of the greatest superhero films you've never seen is the Heroic Trio. Yeah. Rest in peace, Anita Moy. These were all, the Hong Kong cinema was. These are like some of the I guess you'd say the horror fantasy films that they did, but like their horror films are gonna have Taoist priests and acrobats, kung fu. Yeah, remember is it Swordsman, White Crane, Age of the Invincible. Oh, Age of the Invincible is actually a eunuch, right? And to me, a very offensive third Swordsman film where they make the Spanish conquistadors look like a bunch of wussies. I was very offended at that when I saw this. Yeah, Chinese Ghost Story 2. I don't think I saw that, but you see what I'm saying. Now we'll end it up here. Now this is the British Video Massacre. Now of course I keep mentioning they made a whole big thing of the British censorship or the British ratings boards with the films. Of course, video. Eventually, it was found that there was these videotapes that were horrific, video nasties, and apparently there was a resurgence of or a fear, you'll never guess, in the UK of censorship and of more films here. So apparently in the 90s there was some boys, I think the two boys killed a young lad, a 2-year-old, after watching Child's Play 3. So I mean, so there was put forth by a Lib Dem of all people. They put forth, the ratings thing, and it's the typical thing where, in hindsight now, they worry about censorship. Okay, from a liberal standpoint, when in the last 10 to 15 years, the censorship that you've actually seen happen in the UK and here, but in the UK in particular, where people are going to prison, jail. They're going to prison for tweeting something, okay, or agreeing with something, or having an opinion that your grandfather would have had, and people are going to prison for that. So looking at this now, it's almost like to be honest, it's like a bloody joke, right? And that, okay, this was the film SS Experiment Camp. That was the film. I was trying to remember the title of. I was talking to me and Arkham were talking about this stuff. So anyway, just more like, yeah. What would you think of the digital ID? Would your left-leaning ass, people, what do you think of the digital ID that they put forward? What do you think of the censorship? People going to jail because they said something. And this, I mean, fucking stupid horror movies, and I'm a horror guy. Stupid horror films are the last things they should have worried about back then, huh? So, but anyway, all right. Let me stop. Let me stop bringing everything to always gotta bring it down to the death of the West. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because in a way, this sort of is. And I'll go back. Remember the classified ads, Threat Theater. Remember you had all these are like mail order companies. The Threat Theater. I mean, I don't remember. I didn't use them. Eurasia Video. A lot of these guys ripped each other off apparently. So Midnight Video, to me, Midnight Video was the top dudes, the top guys. Rest in peace to them. But this ain't no Barney. That's right. More like Make a Mask Kid. So you can see it was kind of cool. Oh, Lena Quigley, remember her? Oh, there you go. Scream Queens Illustrated. That was one of the magazines mentioned in that other video I had. Lost magazines. So, and I guess, like I said, I don't consider the new Fango is gone. I don't consider the new Fangoria the same entity as this, regardless if Gingold writes for it every now and then. So, but it was nice to see Fangoria in its prime. We got a trip down memory lane.